What is up, everybody? CP and SJ here with you for another round of picks from every day we're covering. Sweet 16, video number 2 here for Friday night's games, March 27th. And again, we'll go in order of tip times here on down the list and try to get you some good plays here for the good old round of Sweet 16 as we whittle them down to 2-8. All right, we're going to start with the first game of the night, which will be the St. John's contest as they take on the Duke Blue Devils. 6:10 is the tip time for this one. I'm seeing the number at 6.5 right now, Duke being the favorite, and 141.5 being the total number. SJ, what are you feeling on this one?
I mean, again, it's one of those games where you kind of see the teams like, oh man, this reminds me of mid '90s or even earlier. This is a great one of those. I mean, in football, I call them helmet games. I guess to be what just like a logo game, or I don't know what they call it in basketball, but kind of getting that here. And St. John's has been hot. I mean, they're a tough watch. It's not, it is not aesthetically pleasing whatsoever. But it doesn't really matter if you're getting the W, getting the wins here. And even went down to the wire. They're like, I don't know if I'd call that exciting, but it was definitely close. Their win over Kansas. I just think Duke's. I mean, other than that, little hiccup against Siena, which they kind of end up, pulling away somewhat there at the end. I just think they're just far too far greater of a team than that St. John's is. So some of these I guess bigger numbers here within the Sweet 16, you're a little bit shy of. For me, not this one. I think Duke will probably roll in this one, and we'll be glad that they're kind of staggered tip times here because you want to be at least for a little bit switching over to that Alabama Michigan game. I think Duke wins this one pretty handily. I'll take the 6.5 to cover.
All right, so you're gonna go with the Blue Devils. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I think that hot streak has some validation here. St. John's they're playing their best basketball at the right time of the season. Yes, is it not pretty sometimes? Certainly, but I also don't feel like Duke has been pretty here late in the season either. They've certainly had their share of struggles. Really was tough in that ACC run there. They also in that first round game, obviously against Siena, struggled, and then from there on out, yeah, they pulled away in the next game, but it wasn't necessarily like just the over exertion that you're used to seeing a Duke against any team the first couple of rounds typically. I mean, I do think that time is helping them because they're getting used to not having some of their guys out there, and they're just going to get better. But I think that number is just a little bit too high. I think St. John's keeps it close enough. Now, do I think that St. John's is going to outright win? I'm not going to go that far. I still think that Duke maybe ekes this one out here at the end. But if you're giving me 6.5 points against a hot team in the tournament, I'm going to take it. I'm going to give St. John's a chance here, and maybe that comes with a little bit extra, bonus on the money side of it too. So I'll give them a whirl here with St. John's in that opening contest. Next one that tips off at 6:35. Alabama is taking on Michigan. Right now, I'm seeing Michigan as a 9.5 point favorite, 174.5 as the total. So again, my eyeballs about bulged out of my head when I saw this number. Now, granted, yes, Alabama absolutely is the scoring team. That's what they're known for. They put up points. That's what they want to do. They want to run. They want to gun. Michigan certainly not incapable of putting points up either, but that's a hell of a number to get to. I'm going to go. I mean, I think this one, especially early on, we've seen so many of these games so far where even good teams, it's like it takes them 8-10 minutes to get into any kind of flow in the game. Everybody's just so nervous and wound up that you don't see the best until later on in the contest. And I just think they're going to be far enough behind the pace early that they ain't going to get to that number. So I'm going to go unders here, that 174.5. Do I think it'll be a fun game? I really honestly, I still favor Michigan being the more talented team to win the game, but I'm going to go with that under. I think that's a safe play.
Yeah, that's just seeing that just blows your mind when you look at like a month ago you couldn't find that probably on the board anywhere, let alone in a major conference that high of a total. So yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen either. And I kind of see it playing out as like Michigan's games, especially the one against St. Louis, where it's a little bit of a back and forth, but over time it's just kind of a wear down. I don't expect it to be crazy high scoring though. So I'm agree with you on that under, but I do think Michigan can cover because I think it's just Alabama's kind of going to play right into what they want to do. Yeah, they can score too, but Michigan just has a little bit more, and they have the ability to score on the inside. I mean, you got dudes like 7 foot tall dunking it without jumping, and Mara, and then Lindenberg just get to the hoop like he's a point guard. So
Mhm.
I just think there's a little bit too much there for to hang with them. And so like again, same with Duke. Like I don't like that it's that high, but I think that it's definitely a pretty distinct possibility. And I honestly be more confident in Michigan when we do our confidence, on these picks here. I probably go heavier with Michigan covering that bigger number than I would with Duke for the fact that St. John's has been so hot, and also Michigan's just that's what they've done pretty much most throughout the season, except for a couple games that you might hang with them, and then they just either wear you down or end up pulling something out in the last minute. So yeah, I'll take Michigan to cover. Like I said, a little bit high, but I think they can do it. And Alabama just kind of plays into their strength.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. We move to the night window. We'll go to the 8:45 game, the 2-3 matchup. UConn taking on Michigan State. I think a lot of people wanted to see this game come to fruition, and we get it. Right now, pretty much toss up. 1.5 point favorites for UConn. The number at 135.5 there on the total. This could be a fun game. SJ, what are you leaning towards here?
Yeah, I mean, being that close, kind of initially, I was like, I'm going, I'm probably going to just ride with UConn, I would think, but I didn't like the way what I saw most of that UCLA game, and if they were playing somebody else, they might have been in trouble. The UCLA just, I mean, it's kind of like it's one of those things of like you just the way your head coach is, kind of out of sorts and always, stomping and yelling. It goes down to the team, and they kind of seem that way. And of course, you don't have your best scorer for the tournament. And Billadou was out, so that's a huge. I mean, that's a huge loss right there. So I think, and that just gave me a little bit less confidence. And the Big East has not been anything that you're like, oh man, that's a team that could make a deep run, even when they got the records or maybe the rankings. But as far as the eyeball test, to me they haven't passed it. So if it's only gonna be one and a half. And then you're getting plus money on the money line of a Michigan State team where I'm told Tom Izzo never loses in March. So I'll go ahead and take that. I'll take that gamble here. We are gambling after all, and get some value on that. And I'll take Michigan State to pull the mild upset. 2-3 is not much, but I think coming in, I don't think a lot of people are going to go that route. So I guess it'd be an upset in my mind because I'm sure most brackets have UConn going through to the next round.
Yeah, I don't hate the thought process there and what you're picking. I'm gonna be a little bit honest here. My bias in this game comes down to the fact that I need this to happen for my
There,
pool as
there you go.
well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with UConn. I picked the Huskies to win this game and get to the next round. And yeah, it's a big deciding game as far as how I match up with some other people. So I need them to pull it through. But I do think too. I was a Yeah, it wasn't the performance that I totally wanted in that game against UCLA. But I think you started to see some of the what you want to see from a UConn, and from some of their star players. And obviously, I think one guy that's like kind of the X factor for them is Caravan. The dude's been there. He was around for that generational run there when they won the two titles back to back. He's been through this ringer time and time again, and he hits big shots when they need him. So I think that's my kind of X factor guy that makes a difference in this one. And being a toss up game, I mean, yeah, you don't feel too bad either direction if you're going with it. So to lay 1.5, whatever, if they're going to win, they're going to win by a couple. So I'm going to take UConn to lay that 1.5 and win the contest. But I do think this is going to be an interesting one. I can't say that I'm real confident about it. That's for sure.
No, if Michigan State's gonna, have any level of success, I do think that it needs to be in the, mid to high 60s, low 70s at max. They're gonna definitely have to kind of. I know they've been known to, get the ball at the hoop so fast and no one can, knows they're even flying by them. But that's not the team this year. They're gonna have to, play transition when you get the opportunities, take advantage of layups and dunks. But you don't want to go up and down because UConn by far has the more scoring ability and more offensive explosiveness.
Yeah, should be a good game. That's for sure. Then we'll go to the last one, and obviously this is the one that I'll have my eyeballs locked into to end the 2-day stretch there, the Sweet 16. 9:10 tip off. in Chicago. So it'll be a late night for everybody
Yeah.
as Iowa State takes on Tennessee in the 2-6 matchup. I'm showing Iowa State as a 4.5-point favorite, 138.5 being the number total. This is a little bit tough. Obviously, like you, I'm trying to separate myself from my bias a little bit. It does give me confidence in the fact that I think Iowa State is going to win this game just because they just took care of a Kentucky team really handily that beat Tennessee twice during the regular season. I mean, if it was just a split, then yeah, you don't take much away from that, I don't think, but Kentucky beat them twice. I mean, they pretty much proved it out on the floor. Now, is this a different matchup? Sure. The size is a factor for your Tennessee. They're the best offensive rebounding team in the country. That's a problem, especially if Joshua Jefferson can't play. Now, I tend to think he's going to give it a go when we get to Friday because he's had a week to rest. We'll see if that happens. But even if not, I think Iowa State's got the defensive pressure to be able to win this game. Now, that 4.5 number teases me away from it just a little bit because of the Jefferson issue. If he was full go, I would have no problem with picking Iowa State winning this thing and covering. But I'm going to go to the total instead. I think that obviously Tennessee's going to have an advantage to score a bunch of points in the paint. They're going to do that. Iowa State's going to turn them over a bunch and I think score a bunch off of those turnovers. So I think this might get to a pretty decent total here at the end of the day. So I'm going to go over. It's 138.5, which, is kind of mid-range most of the time for games you're looking at. But anytime you're getting under 140, I think there's a chance. So I'm going to go with Iowa State to be able to, again, score in transition off some of those turnovers. The shooting has been great here lately. They had their little lull at the beginning of that Kentucky game, but then they got it going. So I think that continues, and I think this gets over that total. So that's where I'm going to play it. SJ, what are you looking at?
Yeah, it's easier because whatever happens, I'm not, it's either I don't have like total emotions as you have, but I think they'll actually cover that number pretty easy. I don't think it'll be much of a game here. I just think Iowa State's a much better team, and I don't know, like I feel like all these things, especially with the SEC. I know I can say this for sure, but it's like it's not Dalton connecting the boys out here playing this year. Like Tennessee had some talent and some teams, but this isn't that team. So I think sometimes we forget and we're like, oh yeah, remember Tennessee, even in Alabama when they had whatever the guy that had the charge against him, and then the lefty point guard, like that was a hell of a team. Or was it some Mark something or whatever his name was, the really good shooter. But I was like, that's a different team. They're not still on the team, like they're gone. So you can't, it doesn't, the player changes, the jersey stays the same. So I just think it's a little bit of an overrated bunch. That Miami of Ohio game probably said a little bit more about Miami of Ohio than it did about Tennessee. They have a decent team. You're not going to hang with the big dogs, especially with the NIL and transferring, that type of thing. It's just the way it is. And that Virginia game was when they earned the victory and pulled away and had some I guess clutch plays down the stretch, but it wasn't a game where you're watching like, oh, I'm scared of this team, I don't want to play them. So I think it's a good matchup for Iowa State, and I think they'll probably win pretty handily there and cover that number fairly easily.
All right. Well, I sure hope you're right.
Yeah. It'll be a late night. I know the other night was like a 8 o'clock tip off, and that I was up till, well, that was just because I can't shut it off till 2 a.m. You might be pulling 3 or 4 o'clock before you hit before you, plug the nightlight in.
Yeah, it's going to be rough because we're actually traveling for my daughter's got a gymnastics thing over the weekend across the state. So it was kind of nice that it's a late game because I know I can get to where I'm going to watch it. But then, I'm going to need to get some Z's before I get up and watch the girls. So we'll see how it goes. Whatever. If it's a win, I'll find a way to be happy. It's okay. No problem. All right. So those are our picks here for the Sweet 16. We hope that you have some fun and, of course, playing along with us. If you think differently, let us know. You see the handles there. Find us on Twitter. We make our selections there. Of course, sometimes just in tweet form other than the video. So make sure that you're interacting and letting us know what you think. And if you have some good plays that you're going with here for the weekend. And then also, of course, subscribe, get the notifications for the podcast, all the major platforms. Just search the name, you'll find us. And then the same here goes for this YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, get the notifications so you always see our picks when they're coming at you. Now, I will give you a fair warning. Probably not going to have video picks for you for the Elite Eight round because, heck, that's a quick turnaround. Like you said, I might not be bed till 4 a.m. So how am I going to pick the next day's games? But we'll send some stuff out for you on Twitter for sure. So look for the graphics there, and we'll do it in that form. And of course, we'll have the chance to catch up at the end of the weekend and get you the podcast out and then preview what is then going to happen the next round of the Final Four and see who's going to come away with this thing at the end of the day. All right, that's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for another round of picks here from Every Day We're Covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.